This is your math lesson part 1 for April 8th, 2020. You will need your math book pages 379 and 380, a pencil, and an eraser. On page 379, there's a very valuable model for you to look at. It's really just like the fraction strips that we used at school before the school closure. It shows one whole, and then it shows what the unit fractions of 1/2 look like, 1/3, 1/4. We talked about patterns that we saw, and they want you to describe 2 patterns that you see when you look at the top half of this page. You noticed some things before the break about the size, about the numbers. Tell me 2 patterns you see in this illustration. Then use this diagram to compare. Which is greater, less than, or equal to 1/3 and 1/7? So you look at 1/3, you look at 1/7. If this was a candy bar, which piece would be greater, 1/3 or 1/7? And use the greater than sign. Remember, the alligator's hungry. He wants to eat the bigger piece of candy bar. If you find any that are equal, you will put an equal sign. But otherwise, use the greater than, less than symbols to compare these fractions and use the illustration. On the back, on page 380, you will use this number line for some of the problems, but you'll also turn back and use this illustration for some of the problems. Here it says, describe a pattern that you see in the number line. So think about spacing. What do you notice about the spacing of these unit fractions on a number line? Describe a pattern that you see. Compare. Use the fraction bars or the number line. Which is greater, a greater piece of a candy bar, 1/3 or 1/8? You can look here at 1/3, you can look here at 1/8. You can also use these fraction bars to look at 1/3 or 1/8 if you like. Solve. Use the fraction bars or the number line. Between which 2 unit fractions would 1/5 be? Would 1/5 be here between 1 and 1/2? Would 1/5 be here between 1/2 and 1/3? Where would 1/5 fit on this number line? Or it says you can use the fraction bars. If you're not sure where it falls, you can look back here at 1/5 and find out what would it be between on the number line. Think about making a fraction bar for tenths. How many unit fractions would be in the fraction bar? So these fraction bars here only go up to 1/8. Think about how many unit fractions are in 1/8. How many unit fractions are in 1/7? If you made a 1/10 unit fraction bar, how many unit fractions would be in the 1/10 fraction bar? Would there be 1 piece, 2 pieces? How do you write the unit fraction for tenths? If you're not sure, look back at how you write the unit fraction for halves, thirds, fourths, fifths, 6, 7s, 8s. What would tenths unit fraction look like? I want you to write your prediction for number 14. That is math lesson part 1 for April 8th.